lately, there's just I have come to realize that, man, we got to really have to take this group on, and so we've had some wonderful, wonderful guests, and then of people who are, I think, as brave as you are, and now it's you, and so you're I should say this, you are being threatened. Is that right?
That's correct. I don't want to sort of state the sensationalist nature of the allegations, but this morning we everyone at our site, ex-ScientologyKids.com, got a pretty nasty email basically saying that if we came on the show today that we would be slandered as much as possible, and that some very serious allegations would be made against us online and possibly in the press.
Bring it.
Yeah, bring it. That's what I say.
Bring it. I always say that. They want to do it. Bring it. Let's see what you. Let's try a little you on my own. It's always interesting. They threatened me back years ago, and then they just realized that it's like. And I used to invite them on the show. Come on the show, and then they quit all of that. And now, kind of what the church does is try and nail people like you. I mean, first of all, how old are you?
I'm 24. I'm going to be 25 in about a week.
The website is called ex-ScientologyKids.com.
That's correct.
I haven't had a chance to look at it because this other thing. Talk about the website and how people can go. Actually, they can just go look at it.
Sure. Well, I mean, I'll tell you a little bit about sort of the reason the site was started and what its purpose is. The purpose of the site is sort of to provide easy to understand. We have several purposes. One is to provide easy to understand information for people who know nothing about Scientology. There's a lot of critical websites out there, but a lot of them, and they've got lots of great information, and there's great people on there, but a lot of them sort of assume that you already know, that you already know what Scientology is about, and ours doesn't. So we kind of try to educate people who may have had no experience with Scientology before. The other reason that we put up the site really is because the three girls that started it, myself, a girl named Astra Woodcraft who left Scientology when they tried to pressure her to have an abortion, and she left to save her now 9-year-old daughter, and Jenna Miscavige Hill, who is the niece of the leader of Scientology, who recently left and started speaking out about abuses. The three of us sort of got together recently and realized that there must be hundreds of other kids out there that we don't know about. There are some that we do that would love to tell their stories online, that would like to have a place on the Internet to congregate, but they're all really afraid to do so because Scientology has a policy wherein if you speak out in public against Scientology, even under a pseudonym, online in the paper, you will be what they call disconnected from your family or anybody who's currently in Scientology. So there's a lot of kids that have grown up in it, and they don't agree anymore, and they've sort of very quietly started to fade out, and they have serious disagreements with the way the church is run. They've, been abused or, and they're afraid to say so. And we just really want to have a safe space for kids that are in this position to be able to talk to each other anonymously, and also for kids that are in the church right now to be able to sort of ask questions about us and to get advice from people who've been in their situation before.
Now, your dad is Bruce Wiseman, correct?
That's right.
Talk about your dad.
I love my dad. My dad is one of the bravest and most wonderful people that I know. I think my father is a fabulous individual. I really do. The thing is that we had a little bit of a family disagreement about Scientology. I left Scientology when I was 17 for the first time. And I followed church policy by not telling anyone that I was leaving. It's a high crime in Scientology to tell anybody that you're leaving the group. So I didn't really publicize it at all. A few years ago, I won't get into the details. We had a family disagreement about the principles of Scientology, and I was living in China at the time. They were living in Los Angeles, and they were sort of forced to disconnect from me. They invoked this disconnection policy, and my family was shut off from talking to me and sort of forbidden to do so.
I mean, that's amazing that, I don't know about anybody else's belief system, but it would be very difficult for somebody to tell me I can't speak with my children or be around my children because of beliefs.
Yeah, it's really something that's it's so different in Scientology. It's really this institutionalized system of splitting families apart. And the really interesting thing is basically, you may have heard Tom Cruise talking about this.
I've seen that tape.
Have you?
Oh, man.
I know. Well, he uses a lot of Scientology words, and a lot of people didn't really understand what he was saying. And one of the things he says in there is, he uses this word SP.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know what that is.
Oh.
And what that means, sorry?
I said, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh. What that means in Scientology is suppressive person. And that's basically when they label you, they decide that you've committed a high crime in the church, and they label you with this term. You are now a suppressive person. And it's a crime in Scientology to speak to or have any connection with a suppressive person. And the most interesting part about this is sort of what can get you declared a suppressive person. And the things that can get you declared a suppressive person include copyright violations, practicing Scientology without paying the management to do so, testifying against Scientology in court, asking for your money back, speaking to the press about Scientology, saying bad things about Scientology in public. All of these things can get you labeled evil by the church's standpoint. And so, this happens to a lot of kids. Take this example of testifying against Scientology. We've got a few people who are anonymously speaking in our forums who were sexually abused in Scientology and were urged very strongly. They said, okay, you can either go to the court and you can talk about it and lose your family, or you can stay here, not say anything, and keep your family. And we find this to be very destructive.
When's the last time you spoke with your dad?
I talked to my dad last about 3 years ago. That was the last time, that was the last time we really spoke.
Do you have sisters, brothers, siblings?
They're all in Scientology.
And you haven't spoken with them?
No, that they were also urged to disconnect as well.
And what about your mom?
Also a Scientologist.
Well, there are things that are in religious thought or philosophical, like Archimedes going, Eureka, I found it.
Right.
What was the moment for you when you said, Eureka, Scientology, ?
Well, I have to tell you, so many people have asked me that in the past. They go, what is that second? What is that moment where you went, this is wrong?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I've talked to a lot of Scientology kids, and all of them have said there was no eureka moment. What usually tends to happen is that Scientology kind of shoots itself in the foot a little bit. You start to question it as a kid, and you go, okay, I disagree with this, and then you get in trouble for disagreeing. And, you're sent to the disciplinary office, and, you're disciplined, and you feel a little better because now, you get out of disciplinary and everybody's treating you well again, and you're like, okay, everything's fine, and then you've got another question, and you get in trouble again.
Sure.
And so there's this sort of downward spiral for a lot of these kids of finally being like, you've got to stop punishing me for disagreeing with you, and I'm tired of being afraid to go to, people who also disagree and ask them questions. And I've got to tell you, Peter, we have gotten hundreds of emails from kids, and so many of them, some of them I know personally, they've given me their names, and I haven't even seen them in 7 or 8 years. Some of them are, most of them speak to me anonymously and say, look, I'm in your possession, but my family are still inside of Scientology, and I can't say anything. If I lend my voice to your website, if I put my story up online, I'm going to lose all of them. They're going to be ordered to stop talking to me. And I don't want to lose my family, so I can't say anything, but I want to let you know that I agree with you, and I'm glad that you're out there. And so that's kind of, that really was our goal, and I'm sort of glad that we're able to help.
The moment of question is great. I mean, you must question authority. It's the great line.
Yeah, exactly.
And so how old are you when you begin to question the doctrine?
Oh, I was 14. I find that a lot of people around that age start to ask the questions. 14, 15, 16 usually tends to be the age that people start going, well, I just, I want to fly a little bit.